1 minute till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Seconds till broadcast. Five, four, three, two, one. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Let me tell you, the response to the show has been absolutely amazing. People can't believe that a young conservative millennial continues to fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and talks about issues that some are even afraid to talk about. But we do it because we understand the importance of this. And now we're seeing it absolutely blow up all across the nation.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
So I'm really trying to be able to spread and understand this video that's going on all over social media. It's apparently a big sensation of these doctors sitting on the Supreme Court Capitol building in Washington, D.C., trying to talk about COVID-19 and some of the medical ideas that are being discussed outside of the norm of Washington, D.C., and it keeps getting blocked, and I'm getting frustrated. And they're saying it's fake news, that it's not real legit information. They're not real legit doctors that are spreading this information. So therefore, social media, Twitter and Facebook, and everybody's banning this video. I've shared it a couple of times, and apparently it goes private, and you're not allowed to actually see it. So it's kind of weird. That's interesting. I want to get into that here in just a little bit. Welcome into the Voice of Reason. It's great to have you today on a Tuesday as we are broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here on the flagship station of the Big Talker KQAM in Wichita, Kansas, all over the country on radio, TV, live streaming on the Facebook Live, YouTube Live, at Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, online at HooserReason.com. And it's great to have you today for the ride. If you have not done so, by the way, we are getting towards the end of the month. We have our monthly newsletter coming out. You can join at HooserReason.com. The little blurb will pop up. Do you want to become a Hoosier-holic? And you say, heck yeah, I do. And you just type in your email address. It's free, and we'll send you a monthly newsletter, and we'll have some fun and talk about some really cool issues. So anyways, there's the video floating around social media we want to get to. There is, I love this headline. Trump spends 9 in 10 advertising dollars defending states that he won. Now, that's supposed to scare us that he's not doing well, right? Trump's trying to defend the states that he won in 2016. But if he's in the White House, that means he won enough states to win the White House, so why wouldn't he want to actually defend them? I find that kind of ironic, so we'll get to that here in just a little bit as well. But I want to get to our guest because we're excited. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but on this program in the over a month that we've been on the quote-unquote national scene, and we're growing with more stations and TV affiliates and radio affiliates and online streaming and everything we're doing, that we've been doing the show for just over a month now on the national scale, and I don't think we've had the same guest twice. we're about to. We have a few of the guests rescheduled for later on in the week, but I'm so excited because we've had so many awesome guests on this program talking about so many different awesome things that it's not the same thing each and every day, which a lot of shows do at times. So we try and keep it fresh and stylish. But we're going to pull the Craig Ferguson style today because this is what I love to do, and we're going to do it. So there's going to be no scripted questions here. We just kind of roll with it and talk about whatever comes to mind because it's really important. And I'm excited for our guest today. He is the author of the book, The DNA of Democracy. He's also a graduate from the Southern Methodist University. It's Mr. Richard Lyons on the line with us today. Richard, how are you, my friend?
Very good, Andy. Great to be with you.
It's great to have you on the program. I appreciate it very much. The DNA of Democracy. Now, before we get into what the DNA of it is and the preciousness that we have in this system, and one of the most unique systems, I think, on the face of the earth, let's talk about the actual isms that what goes in here between a republic, between a democracy, between these different forms of government that I think many individuals today don't quite understand what they are, do they? Because I think we use the terms out of context in many forms today unintentionally because we just don't know.
I think you're right, and one of the reasons I wrote the book was to bring a little clarity to the subject. There are a lot of isms. There's communism, socialism, fascism. They're all species of tyranny. They're all subsets of tyranny. Socialism being the ground beneath tyranny. When we talk about democracy, representative government or a republic is a species of democracy. It is the person's will being made into law, where citizens, individuals, comprise the power in a country.
It's funny you mentioned that socialism, communism, fascism, it's all control. I've been trying to explain that so many times on social media to other individuals on the other side of the aisle, and they don't quite. Every time I mention that, they say, no, Andy, fascism is a conservative mentality. Fascism is on the right. It's right-wing radicalism, and that's what fascism actually is. And every time you try to explain it to them, it goes over their head, and they go back to fascism. If you Google it on Wikipedia, it says it's a far-right ideology.
Well, let me clarify that. The Nazi Party started as a socialist party. Communism started out of socialism.
Yes.
What socialism means is you're taking a group of people who are militaristic in their means and desire to take over a country. They desire to control the economy. They desire to control the media. They desire to control every individual in that country. It becomes, in its metastasized form, if it forms into a oligarchic system, more or less. They both are oligarchies, really. But in some forms they are fascism, called fascism, and in some forms they're called communism, but they're equally tyranny. So in the book it's very clear. There's a line right down the middle. There's tyranny and there's liberty. And you can call tyranny whatever you want to call it. It's always the same. There is a DNA to it. That's why I called the book The DNA of Democracy. Democracy is founded in law. That's part of the DNA. Tyranny is founded in force, force and will. So there's a very big difference, and this book, if nothing else, defines the two very clearly.
I'm really glad you break that down because it is so extremely important. I try to, when I have these conversations, I try to ask them and I say, all right, what are your policies? What do you believe in? Well, we believe in centralized education. We believe in high regulation over business and consumption in the distribution of means and goods. We believe in taking and confiscating firearms. We believe in high taxes on evil rich people. And you go down the line.
Can I stop you? Andy, can I stop you there?
Yeah.
Key words that you always want to look out for when a tyranny is forming is centralized, confiscation, regulation. These are all words of centralized control of a government. And it is the opposite to the way that this country was founded,
right,
which was a diffusion of powers among vast numbers of communities and among individuals, each having equal power. So when you're centralizing authority, when you're regulating it, when you're confiscating the rightful property of others, those are tactics of a tyranny.
And that's not what we have in the United States. That's not what we've never had. In fact, that's why we started a revolution saying that we're not going to have a king so many miles away trying to tell us what to do, giving us a 2% tax increase on goods and trying to confiscate our cannons. And when that happened, we said, we'll see you later.
very, very true, Andy, and I go into great depth regarding the revolution.
I love it. Well, let's talk about America for a second then. Let's talk about our attributes. I have been taught, when I was in school, they taught me that it was a democratic republic. And the more that I've tried to understand it and tried to learn, that I've come to the term of a constitutional republic, but with some democratic flavors to it as well. So what is the United States, and where does democracy fall into play here?
Okay, as it goes into in the book, America formed out of the original powers of society, not having a governor, so to speak, when it emerged. So family and faith and individual independence and enterprise and occupations were all free. And society formed without an overlord, so to speak. And so we formed our government from the bottom up. And at the bottom, at the town level, we're basically a democracy, where if I go into my little town here, I can join the assembly and have a voice and ask any question of the local government. At the county level, it becomes a little more representative. At the state level, it is a republic on the basis of the Roman Republic, right? Then when you get up to the federal level, it was actually based on the Iroquois League, their system of federalism, where the ideal was that the minimum amount of power in a federal government was able to keep the individual at a power exercising a maximum of power. That was their ideal. So we have the Athenian basis, we have a Roman basis, and we also have English common law. So we have those four influences. And also, we've always been a deeply religious country, and that was based on the Ten Commandments.
Sure.
So you have a lot of mix, and part of it is Native Americans.
It's a very intricate system, it sounds like.
It is, but it one thing built on another, and what they did in the Constitution was take the best of every element. They actually took the best elements of every rebellion against tyranny in history and put it in the Constitution to defend us from a future tyranny.
Mm-hmm. When we originally created our nation, we had the Articles of Confederation. Articles of Confederation didn't work out. We didn't have things working out the way they needed to. They convened with the Constitutional Convention. Benjamin Franklin came out of it. At the end of it, media asked him, what did we have? What did you give us? A monarchy, a democracy, what did you create here? And he said, a republic if you can keep it. What does that mean? I mean, how fragile is this system, and how easy is it to lose if we don't pay attention to this?
Well, the DNA of Democracy is the first volume in a 3-volume set, and the second volume is going to go into the nature of power. And the nature of power is always to concentrate. And all the great philosophers, entailed in the democratic idea will tell you this. You can go to any one, to John Locke, to Thomas Jefferson, to whom you will. And the characteristic of power is that it concentrates itself, it centralizes, and gathers more power through time. Mm-hmm. So any government will become more powerful over time. If you look at our government and just the growth of its administrative agencies and their number and their budgets, it's just massive. And so our government is doing the same thing, and the question is whether we will be able to stop its progression, and that's what progressivism is government progression into having a stake over everybody's life. Whether we can stem the tide or not.
Sure. We're talking with Richard Lyons, the award-winning author of the book, The DNA of Democracy. You can also find his other books. You have a lot of books on there. You can find it at lylea.com, lylea.com. You can see all the books. You can order them right there. When we talk about the DNA of what we have, and as you mentioned, these different levels that we're at, when we talk with the progressives and they talk about, like you mentioned, regulation and centralization and wanting everything right to the government, for example, even COVID, and when there's a problem with health care, when there's a problem with some type of separation with really wealthy people or really unwealthy people, and we need the government to do something, where there's a shooting and we need to go to the government and say we need gun regulation, we need them to do something. Is that the proper way to handle it? We got about 40 seconds before we take a break, so let's tease this, and then we can kind of go more in depth with it in the next segment. But is when we say we need to do something and we look towards the government for that and we cause this big mass media attention, Is that the right way to handle these issues under the system that we have set up?
Well, I think we're hearing from a national media with a national plea. I think the best thing we have are 50 states that are each of them laboratories of democracy. And at the state level, we can each be handling COVID in a different way, and one state comes up with the best way, and all the other states adopt that. I think the states are far too silent nowadays and muted by this constant call for a national solution to every problem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can't we just solve things ourselves?
I think solve things ourselves. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. Well, let's continue that when we come back, because that's exactly what we need to do. And I want to go into as well the importance of having an informed citizenry as well in order to keep this thing afloat, because when we look towards the centralization, then it's so easy to lose the fragile system we have. I love it. We're talking with Richard Lyons, author of the book, The DNA of Democracy. We got lots to get to here on The Voice of Reason. It's a Tuesday. Don't go anywhere. Stay here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe to any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome into the Voice of Reason. Getting some messages on social media that they're not getting the notification that we were live on social media. So if you find it, sometimes, the whole shadow banning thing, don't like conservative messages. Go on there, say hi, like it, break the algorithm, share it onto your own page, do whatever you got to do. We appreciate that very much. Also, you can go on to HooserReason.com. And you can find the live stream there as well, along with all the podcasts, which we've been killing it on the podcasting. So thank you for that very much. I can tell we're already going to run short on time with this guest because this is such great info. This is what I get off on. I love this type of conversation with these things. Richard Lyons, author of the book, The DNA of Democracy. And as we went into break, we talked about the importance of an educated, understanding citizenry, because if we don't, then we kind of lose it, and we have what we have today with centralization of, oh my gosh, you need to do something. We see the movements of trying to remove the Electoral College and have a democracy, democratic, mob type mentality in national elections of let's just get rid of the Electoral College, do the 51% over the 49% majority rule for presidential elections, and go from there. It's, I think, because people just don't understand the kind of system we have to truly represent everybody. Is that correct?
That's very correct, Andy. If we did away with the electoral, that was a very specifically devised means of elections so that small states would not be overwhelmed by large states. So you had, at the time of the Constitution, Massachusetts up north, and you had Virginia down south. And Virginia was, greater than its present size. It incorporated both West Virginia and in Virginia. So it is a means by which one state or a group of states or region of states cannot overwhelm the whole country. If we did away with the Electoral College, New York and California themselves would determine who the president is pretty much every election because of their populations and their leftward bent. So they hazard these ideas, and they should have some appreciation for the genius of the generation who created this country.
Well, and they don't, because remember, they were all just a bunch of evil, white, rich, racist people.
Well, then, of course, these people are a lot smarter than they were now. So
that's right.
I'd like to meet any one of them and just gauge their intelligence.
Yeah, no, exactly, absolutely. If we don't, and what can we do? I guess moving forward, we got a few minutes left here. What can we do to educate the population again, to understand the importance of the fragile system that we have, that centralization of everything is a really bad thing, when we have sovereign states that signed a social compact that would give a federal government oversight on a few things, but yet the states were supposed to have power over about 80% of the duties? How do we get back to that mentality for people to understand that concept?
Well, I hate to be too self-promoting, but I think the DNA of democracy is a great start to understand the system as it was created and why it is so unique and why it is really worth defending, because not enough people are defending it. We just seem to be rolling along. In Volume 2, which is coming out by the end of the year, I go into why our system became so concentrated and why everybody's looking to the executive office in a federal government for every solution. And the reason the Democrats are so panicked now is because they created the executive branch to be so strong that they now need to control it, or they feel they are out of control.
I love it. No, you're absolutely right. You can find his book at lylea.com, lylea.com. And Richard, we got to get you back on as a regular, because I absolutely love these conversations. We got about 20 seconds left, but where else can people find your book, and what other books do you have?
I can be found at Amazon, of course, in audiobook, ebook, or in paperback. I've also written a book called But by the Chance of War, which is about war and peace and about the human dynamic that creates war. So that can be found at lilia.com, Amazon, or on audio.
Great stuff. It's a way to preserve our nation and trying to get back to where we need to. Richard Lyons, the DNA of Democracy. We appreciate the time very much, my friend. We'll do it again here real soon.
Thank you, Andy.
Hey.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to talk to you right there. All right, we'll take a bottom of the hour break. When we come back, we want to shift gears a little bit. We'll talk about some of this, get your thoughts on it, and where we go from here. Plus, we have some decisions from President Trump, the latest from Barr as well, talking to the House Committee. Stay here.
With Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of the Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hoosier Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hoosier Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HoosierReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Hoosier Media Network is way more than just the voice of reason. It's your source to find numerous different online talk shows, podcasts, TV, and radio programs, all in one simple online location for you. From political talk to health talk to whatever you may be interested in, we're here for you. And I tell you, it's growing every day. Catch Tracy Maxfield with her podcast, Engage, Educate, and Empower, discussing mental health issues in children and teenagers. From bullying, teenage suicide, addiction, ADHD, and so much more, learn from Tracy and her guests about symptoms, signs, and ways to talk to your children, plus so much more. Having battled depression, being the author of the internationally acclaimed book, Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and being a retired nurse, Tracy is kind of the go-to on the subject. Make sure to find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website at tracymaxfield.com. Also, make sure to tune into the weekly podcast Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy. Taking that next big leap of faith is hard. Trying to write a book, maybe struggling with a relationship, looking to take that next big career step. What's stopping you? There's a lot of big questions there, and they're questions that Rachel and Shannon want to help with you each and every week. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll on any of your favorite podcasting sites and on Facebook and YouTube. All of these shows and a heck of a lot more can be found on the Hoosier Media Network Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure to follow and subscribe to check them out today. Follow all the shows, and if you have any inquiries, check us out at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosierholic by going to HoosierReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com. Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hoosier Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn, Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network.
When Reason Meets Radio. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Yes, you are. Welcome into the Voice of Reason. Great to have you today for a Tuesday. As we try to bring reason back into the conversation, cramming 10 pounds of reason into a 5-pound bag, rebranding the millennial generation one radio listener at a time, because that's just what we do. Welcome into it. Great to have you along. I'm getting a lot of messages from numerous people saying that they really enjoyed that guest. If you like a guest that we've had on the program, really any of them, and you can go back to the podcast and listen through all of them, let me know so we can make sure to get those on and prioritize them to come back onto the program. We try to diversify and talk about numerous different issues. I really enjoyed a conversation yesterday with Gregory Wrightstone, the Inconvenient Facts, and talking about climate change, because he's one of the great experts on the issue and goes on a lot of different talk shows and things talking about it. And by the way, I did download his app, which is really cool as well. I was checking that out last night. Our guest today is fantastic. We have Eric Rittmeyer, if you remember, the mental toughness expert. He's going to be coming on Thursday again. We've had different congressmen coming on the program. So if there's certain guests that you like or don't like, let me know, and we'll make sure to schedule appropriately. And because it's about you and your shows. So we appreciate that. I don't know what direction to go here. There's so many weird stories today, like odd stories. First off, all right, here's number one. Taller people face higher risk of catching COVID-19, according to the survey. Now that we're learning more about the virus, apparently, the taller you are and the higher you are from the ground, and the more that you're going into the stratosphere, then the higher risk you have of catching the virus. So maybe in our weird world of atmospheric pressure, that it floats up in the air. It doesn't go to the ground, which is why maybe kids are less susceptible to actually receiving it. I don't know, but there you go. That's apparently the science. Now, there's a video that's floating around social media, and I'm trying to find it again because it keeps disappearing. They say it's fake news. They say they're fake doctors. They say they're not legit, and they're taking it down. I've shared it 2 different times. Not that I necessarily believe them, like 100%, like these are the answer right here. But it's really interesting that they do a press conference on the steps of the Supreme Court building, and there's like 5 people there, but they're video streaming it, and there's like, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8 doctors, and they go through and they start talking and say that hydrochloroquine, which is the medicine that President Trump has been pushing for the COVID-19 thing and thinking that that's what it's going to do, and he's been taking it every day. Even here in Kansas, our Congressman Roger Marshall in the western part of the state of Kansas, he's a doctor, and he said he's taking it, and his family's taking it, but the media says it's not right. They haven't done any studies on it. It hasn't proven anything, and therefore, it's off the map. You can't take it, and Donald Trump talks about it, and therefore he's wrong because he's not a doctor or a scientist or knows what the heck he's talking about, right? And Dr. Fauci kind of says the same thing. He's like, oh, well, we haven't really tested it, so therefore we don't really know. Wear your mask. But these doctors came out, and they call themselves the frontline doctors, and they're starting a movement on the frontline doctors. And they went there and they said, you know what, hydrochloroquine is actually working very well. And we've been treating our patients with it. Between that and zinc, we've been giving them both of these, and they're fine. Whether they didn't have the virus and they wanted to prevent it, or they got the virus and they had symptoms, we gave it to them and voila, we've done it. Now, the reason that they're discrediting them, and I don't know if you've seen these or not. If not, you can try and find it if you can, because they keep knocking it off social media. If you can, then message, I'll be all right. I'm 4'11". All right. Well, you know what? Short people, I guess, aren't going to get it. The little people are going to be just fine. Is that the politically correct term now? The little people are going to be just fine. You're not going to get COVID-19. You can begin to reopen and go back to your life and do what you need to do, apparently, because that's the latest. That's the latest in the science, that short people don't get COVID-19. The reason they're trying to discredit these doctors is because there's one gal that's there, and what's her name? Dr. Stella Emanuel. And she's from, I forget what country in Africa. She's African, and she is very religious. Let's just put it that way. She's very religious, but it's because they're from Africa, and that's the kind of religion that they have. And she's extremely religious, and she said some pretty radical religious things that I don't know that I necessarily agree with, but I think they're very interesting. But because of that, the left is completely dismissing the entire doctors movement of frontline doctors because she is religious, and therefore she's not a legit doctor. Now, she is a certified doctor. She's been training for years, and she was a doctor over in Africa before she came to the United States as well. So she's not only had experience here, but she has experience in hydrochloroquine that she talked about. She has experience in giving it to people with numerous different medical ailments, and she's had really pretty much the boots on the ground mentality trying to treat people that have had numerous different illnesses, including COVID-19. And according to her, now this isn't verified or fact-checked, but according to her, and what she said in the video, is that she's treated over 350 patients that had COVID-19. She hasn't lost a single one of them, and that they're all fine. From Nigeria. Okay, she's from Nigeria. Thank you. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not. It's not fact-checked, but they're discrediting her because they say she's crazy, and therefore, because she's crazy, then we can't count her for her medical opinion, only because she's said some radical religious things. But regardless of her, let's set her aside for a second. What about the other doctors? I don't know much about them. Dr. Joe Ladupo, is that his name? Joe Ladupo. I'm trying to say these properly. He's a doctor at one of the universities. And he said, I was right there with it. I didn't see any studies done on hydrochloroquine. I didn't believe it until I actually saw it boots on the ground. We actually saw some of the patients being treated with it, and voila, look at that. It's starting to work. So we're seeing a conflict in the medical field. The politics right now of it is the media saying Donald Trump is discredited because he's pushing hydrochloroquine. It's not tested. It's not reliable. Don't believe him. He doesn't know what he's talking about because he's not listening to medical experts. But what they don't say is that there's politics within the medical industry as well, right? And we all know this. You ever watch the show House, one of my favorite shows? There's politics in House as well. It's like politics. Medicine itself is like politics. Science itself is like politics. You can have a fact, a statistic, a study, whatever it is, you can have it, and you can disagree on, even though the number punches out, you can disagree on the representation of what that number actually is or whether it's accurate or not. That goes on in the medical industry as well. And right now, we are not getting the full medical opinion, which is why people are not treating this virus seriously. You see it all over. You hear people all the time. Why don't you wear a mask? Why don't you want to save my life? Why don't you do the common sense thing of wearing a mask? Why don't you just get in line and do what you have to do? Because it's a very serious thing. People are dying. It's going to be the next bubonic plague, which is not true because millions of people died from the bubonic plague. And so far, we've had less than 1 million people die from the virus globally. So that's kind of silly, but nonetheless, the science is not confirmed yet. And at first we went along with it because we didn't know what we were dealing with. And we were scared. And we went along with it. All right, we got to shut down. I guess we better shut down. I guess it's going to be that serious. Oh, we got to wear a mask. I guess we better start wearing a mask. It's going to be that serious. Then we started to see people go out in public and not wear masks, like protests in the thousands, and they didn't get sick. Then we saw rallies happen, and people realized they didn't get sick, and things were fine. And then we started to continue to question, why are essential businesses, quote unquote, open, in the splitting of hairs on what an essential business is and not is. and yet we're not allowed to go here, but we're allowed to go here. Does the virus not come over here? What's going on? You can wear a mask over here, but you don't have to wear a mask over here. Kids don't have to wear a mask, or if you have a medical ailment like anxiety or claustrophobia, you don't have to wear a mask. But wait a second, even if you're claustrophobic, aren't you still going to get the virus? And all these exemptions that the government and these, I would say dictators to some degree, all these different quote-unquote leaders tried to say that this is okay and this is what you have to do, but there's exemptions. Then we started questioning, wait a second, what's going on here? We're not getting the full story. And we've said it many times before that we don't want you to tell us what to do. We want you to educate us so we can make the proper decision the way government's supposed to be. Just like our last guest said, you don't centralize power to tell us how to do things. You let us know what's going on and we can make the proper decision ourselves. Conservatism, limited government, bringing it back to the local level. That's what it's all about. And even though city councils are making really dumb decisions, even though county commissions are making really dumb decisions, and even governors are making really dumb decisions across the nation, in my opinion, they're doing it because they're not getting all the information either, and many of them are scared. And when you get scared, you get emotional. And when you get emotional, you get irrational. And when you get irrational, then you make very irrational decisions. It's just what happens. That's what you do. That's just the norm. But these doctors who are getting banned from social media, you can't find their videos anywhere, talked about hydrochloroquine and talked about herd immunity. Now, wait a second. We just had someone on just a couple weeks ago talking about herd immunity, and she got discredited for that. That's herd immunity. What are you talking about? You can't be talking about herd immunity. That's not what we're doing here in this kind of virus. It's totally separate, right? It's crazy. And the media is, of course, going after Trump because he reshared this video as well, talking with these doctors talking. And again, I don't know what their qualifications are. I don't know how long they've been practicing. I don't know whether they're legit or not, or whether the stories they're saying are legit or not. But the fact is that we have doctors in Washington, D.C. saying these things, being discredited, being shut down from social media because they're not supposed to be talking because it doesn't fit the narrative of what's really going on. And the media and social media are saying they're fake doctors and it's fake news. And that raises suspicion. And with the politics that have gotten into the story right now with COVID-19 on what to do, what not to do, whether it's scary, whether it's not scary, whether to wear a mask, not to wear a mask, where to go and what to do and how to buy things, and the list goes on. As we hear this, we start to question. And when we start to hear someone say, wait a second, what's happening isn't legit, isn't real, and this is what's going on and you're going to be okay, and we've treated people for this and it's not as serious as what they're saying, then it kind of validates the thought that we've been having deep down, right? Deep down. We're still wondering. We're still cautious, but deep down we're like, is it really going on? Is it really as scary? And these doctors said it. Dr. Stella Emanuel, again, is she crazy? I don't know. She's had religious aspects to her, okay? She's still a doctor, and she says she's been able to cure over 350 people because of COVID-19 and hydrochloroquine and zinc. Okay. Dr. Joe Ladupo. Dr. James Tidaro? I don't know. There's a whole list of doctors that were there, but yet they're not getting any publicity because they get shunned because they're saying something different. Is it because they're fake, or is it because they just don't want that message to get out? I'll leave that up to you to find it and find it yourself. Educate yourself on it. Got to take a break. One more segment. When we come back, we'll shift gears a little bit, have a little fun wrapping up the show on a Tuesday. Lots more to get to. Stay here.
Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of the Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the voice of reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the program today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites and have the show automatically downloaded to your phone or computer every single day. Just find us on any podcasting site or go to HooserReason.podbean.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon site, become the ultimate Hooserholic, and help us fight for conservative values every day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Now back to the national broadcast of the Voice of Reason.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
I'm reading through the online social media comments, which you can do on all the social media platforms around, plus at HooserReason.com. You can also email me, by the way, HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Let me know some of your favorite guests and not so favorite guests that have been on the program. But reading through a lot of these, it sounds like everybody's kind of in unison. Wait a second. Yeah, we're a little concerned. Why not do some testing on hydrochloroquine? I guess they've done 2 small tests, like tiny tests, and they were like, well, we didn't see any real results from this. But yet we hear doctors saying they're giving it to people and it's either treating them and curing them or it's preventing them from actually getting it, which I don't know if you can really test preventing from getting it on the streets unless you actually expose them to it, because you don't know whether you've been exposed or not. It's like saying, hey, buy this soda and it'll prevent you from having migraines. Do you have a migraine right now? No. Well, see, it works. So you got to do the proper kind of testing, but still, I would like to see some more testing on hydrochloroquine, and the fact that it's been used for years for other things that are similar, then that would kind of make sense to kind of go a little bit deeper and research that as well. I find that kind of interesting. So I don't know, your thoughts on the doctors if you've seen them, and your thoughts on where you stand with these doctors that have been banned from social media. But there is some breaking news. If you want to call it breaking news, at least, I don't know. So according to thefinancialpost.com, President Donald Trump has spent 9 in 10 of his advertising dollars defending states that he won. Oh, yeah. Here's the story. President Donald Trump is spending nearly all of his advertising money to keep states he won in 2016, playing a game of defense in areas a Republican incumbent should be able to count on. More than 92% of his state-based spending in the month of July is in the states that he won in 2016, according to a Bloomberg analysis of television advertising data compiled by Advertising Analytics. So wait a second. He won the states, which, by the way, made him win the election. So he's not supposed to win those states again? Should he just write those off and try new states? I mean, he won a large portion of the states, enough of them to win the presidency, mind you, and he shouldn't advertise in those? He doesn't need to reach out. The ones that he lost, he's probably not going to win either. Do you think he's going to win California? Do you think he's going to win New York? This is a story. This is their big breaking. Oh my gosh, everybody, look at this. He's spending all his money to defend the states that he won. Should he be spending money in California? Because I'm pretty sure that'd be wasting money. So 92% of his money is going towards defending states that he won in 2016. That's called politics and being able to defend what you need, because if you won them last time, then all you have to do is maintain them and you'll win again. The other big story is apparently if you're 6 foot tall or higher, then you're going to have a better chance of getting COVID-19. I don't know. There's another one here. I'm trying to do a couple hits here because I think they're kind of fun. And we didn't even get to William Barr today. We'll get to that probably tomorrow. But there is a story that actually shows that many of the Democrats are starting to recognize that the protests going on, that they've tried to pawn off as safe and peaceful protests, are not actually as peaceful as they thought. And the media and the people are beginning to catch on to that. Now, the media, at least, is trying to cover it up and be like, oh, look, it's peaceful, as a burning building's flying behind them kind of thing. But they're peaceful as they're standing in the middle of the street and people are running them over. I mean, yeah, they're really peaceful right now. And the Democrats have played off again. They've tried to say, we're the revolution. We're going to change things. We're going to get rid of the racist Donald Trump. We're going to get rid of the norm that is society, and we're going to fundamentally change. They're going back to the Barack Obama style, fundamentally change the United States of America. And they're doing it based on these protests. And that's why the mayor and the governor of Seattle and Washington allowed the autonomous zone to happen, why they still allow them to attack cops, why cops are not allowed to defend themselves during this crisis, while we see in Portland, Oregon, the same thing going on, the same thing we see in Chicago, the same thing we see in New York City, because we're just going to let them run rampant. Because if they're protesting and they're changing and fighting for something, then we need to stand behind them, because we're the party, being the Democrat progressives, we're the party of changing things and fighting for justice and fighting for something that's right. And if there is injustice, then by golly, we're going to be right there. Now, if there's not any injustice, then we're still going to stand right there, because there should be injustice so we can fight for it, because that's what's going to give us power. It's not because they have any policy ideas, but it's because they just want to be the rabble-rousers that change things. Because, again, we need to do what? Change something. Do something. We have to do something, and if we do something, then we'll be the party people want, because then things will be changing. We don't know what's going to be changing or how it's going to change, but we just want it to change. And then we can say we did something, and people will parade us around and build statues of us that in 200 years will be flipped, and then they'll say we're bad, and they'll tear them down anyways. So the Democrats getting a little scared, as apparently Jared Nadler, representative, was asked about the Antifa violence and wouldn't even talk about it, and his, of course, security just walked him right past everybody and didn't want to talk about that. That's the story from theamericanthinker.com. But I think they're getting a little wary and realizing that you can only cover up violence and riots for so long. That about does it for today. Podcast going up in a little bit. Make sure to check it out. We got more great guests coming on tomorrow, but you need to be your own voice of reason. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. It's the voice of reason. I'm Andy Hooser. Everybody have a wonderful Tuesday afternoon. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.